Welcome back. We're here for the final stage or stages of the project. We're going to need to post-process both sets of programs for both machines for both parts. We're going to have 4 different programs we're going to post-process. As you can see right here, we have one post-process for the 3 lathe operations. We have another post-process for this part for both the milling operations. So be aware, we have 2 post-processes for both parts. Therefore, we will have 4 post-processes altogether. Starting with the lathe post-process, which is relatively basic, we need to flip to the front view and zoom in and make sure that that Z-X, you see the blue Z and the X going down, that is perfect. Make sure it's on the front side of the part. If it isn't, reach out, raise your hand and call out to the instructor. Over here for setup number 3, same thing is going to be true, but the Y is going to be facing out. The Z is going to be facing this way, and the X should be facing the other way. And if we flip it over to the 3D view, zoom out, you're going to notice 2 different things. One is this setup here should be circular, setup number 1 with the facing, the profile, and the parting. This one's going to be square with the drilling and the milling because most milling and drilling operations are done on the mill and they're done with square parts, not round parts. So the stock is going to be square. With that said, make sure X is on this blue plane, the Y is going up and down, and the Z is going in and out, and it's on the center of the part. So if I flip it this way or flip it this way, it is directly on the front top center of this round part. Has to be. If it isn't, you're going to have to make changes. It will not run on the CNC machines, period. It won't run. You will not have a good part. It just won't work out. It'll be cutting out in space. It won't know where your WCS, your work coordinates are for all your positions. So for the first one under the setup here, after you double check everything's set up correctly, go over here to post process G1, and we're going to make some changes right off the bat. First thing is your program name and number. If you didn't do this before, we have to change it. Most of you guys are between 10,000 and we can start off with 40 and 41. The top of the container for the lathe should be 41. For the lathe operation, it should be 10,041 or 11,000 or 12,041, so on and so forth. For the bottom, it will be 10,040. I'm going to leave mine at 41, so it'll be easy to find in case we have any errors. Next thing, output folder has to be from your H drive. So go over here to your computer, locate your H drive, double click it, locate your PLTW CIM folder, or some of you guys just created a CIM folder. In the CIM folder, you should have a new folder called container. So if you haven't made a new folder, you can click right here and type in container. But because I already have one, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to open it, and this is where I want to save it. You have to have that set. If it isn't, you won't be able to access your files. You're going to call it. You're going to put your name down here and put your name, container top, lathe, right there, set it to inches. The next thing we're going to do is max spindle override is going to be 2,000 RPMs. This is as fast as our machine will go. And over here, I don't think there's anything else we're going to have to change. Preload tools should also be set to no. If it isn't, we're going to have all sorts of issues. Option stop set to yes. All the rest of the settings should be good except for that 2,000. The next thing, double check that your output folder is correct. And the last thing is you should be set to this generic Haas. If you are, that is a milling, and it says right there on the screen for mills, Haas mills. You have to change this to generic Haas for turning. It says turning right here. If it's blank, it's for milling. If it says turning, it's for turning. You have to have generic Haas turning. HaasTurning.cps. You are ready to post-process it this time. When you hit the post button, it may or may not load up. So you're going to type in lathe, your name, the machine, and top container. Your name, the machine, top, and container, and hit the save button. Now, if all went well, if we go to computer, go to your H drive, go to PLTW CIM, and go to your container folder, it should be right there. Timestamp and all. Double click it, and this should load up. It's not perfect. There's one edit you guys are going to have to make. If you go backplot window, you can notice it's set up like a milling operation. We don't want a milling. So you're going to come back to editor and change it to ISO turn. And it's going to flip it up like this, so we're on axis. You're on ISO turn and it looks like this, we're in awesome shape. The facing tool is going to come a little bit in front. The parting tool is going to come a little bit in back. We're going to take a look at it. You can play it down here and see how, okay, well, how does the tool move? Well, okay, all right, it's going to do the operations. It looks good. And the parting tool is going to come in, come down, so on and so forth. It looks good. Now, one of the things you have to edit whenever you're using these machines is there's a couple things. First off, I'm not exactly sure what the M31 is. We might have to end up deleting that. Again, it's not a bit of code that's really relevant for the lathe, and we just probably aren't going to need it. But I'm going to leave it as is. This is a homing code, so that's good. Tool 2, we're going to turn on feed per rev. Here is feed per inch. But it should not matter because our first moving operation is rapiding. And as we go through, everything looks good until I get here, line number 15 on my code, line number 20 right here. On line 15, I have sequence number 20 is a G54. We can never have G54s in the program. There's 2 of them that we're going to have to find. So if we come over here to editor and come over here to find, or control F, we need to find G54. So if it doesn't pop up right away, type it in. And ignore case. And what we're going to do is we're going to go next. And I highlighted it. I need to right now delete that line. That entire line is gone from the face of existence. And we're hit next again. There's another one all the way down here. Again, there's an M22 here. I don't know. I honestly don't know what that miscellaneous bit of code is. There's an M1 for an option stop. Again, we're going to leave it as is, but that might be a code we might need to come back to at a later point and delete out. And then the other one was the M31 up here. Again, I'm not exactly sure what those M codes are for, miscellaneous codes are for. I've never seen them before. We could probably Google them and figure out what they are, but that's how you're going to post-process to the lathe, and you need to export and open it into HSM Express and save everything. So right now you're going to go File, Save, and it's already saved to this now updated at timestamp 202 or whatever time it is, right there on your top container. So you can see I actually cop container. Oh, I must have spelled container wrong. I'm gonna put a P in there. So you could always do a file save as and make it the correct spelling, and container, because I like to spell it right, and everything else looks good. So I'm gonna hit save. I don't need to exit out of here because I'm gonna go ahead and use this program and the other program for the rest of my exporting and editing. We'll do the lathe portion for the bottom container next.